This week on page 180, it is time for us to feel her love. And not in the way that got us a restraining order that one time. And it's time for us to be reckless. And not in the way that got us a restraining order that one time. Because me and Kev Keane are back and we're going to discuss the latest episode of The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 5, Feel Her Love. Kev, you're very welcome back to page 180. And I know you're also a big fan of Andor. We're recording this on the eve of the Andor finale. Only two
Yes,
episodes left of The Last of Us as well.
I know. We were so
Thunderbolts
spoiled.
is coming gone. We blink and we're nearly at the end of this. How are you feeling now?
I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might have to just play The Last of Us after this.
do, play it.
I mean, have we got a bear season coming up this year?
There is a season of the Bear. Yes, can
Okay, we
confirm.
got that.
Yeah.
We got that to look forward to, I suppose. But
In June.
yeah, so that's June. So that's not that far away. So we got
Yeah.
a month to the bear.
We got
So
like Superman, Fantastic Four in July, Peacemakers back in August, I suppose.
yeah,
Stranger Things is coming towards the end of the year, so Squid Game season 3, July.
Squid Game season 3 as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got some crumbs there still, but we're
Okay.
not gonna eat this good
I
for
know.
for
I
quite a while.
know. Oh, it feels like the year is peaking. Do you want to just do our top 10 of the year right now? Like, I feel like we could. I feel like
Yeah,
we
we
could.
probably could actually.
Yeah. I wonder how many other series will make it into when we do the end of year top 10. I wonder how many other series that we have left. Like, if you were to guess, we don't have to list them now because, again, spoilers for that show. But, like, do you reckon we'll get, like, 4 more series maybe? Or, I don't
that
know.
make the top 10 later in
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, that we haven't seen already because we've peaked quite early in the year.
Unless we get like another surprise show like maybe like Adolescence or like Baby Reindeer last year that just completely blindsides you that
Yeah.
you wasn't on your radar. You might get 3 more maybe in this year, but that I can kind of think of. But I'm hoping to get blindsided by something that's going to be class.
Yes. Say
Um,
Nothing was my number one last year, and again, I was just like,
yeah,
no hype for that. And same with Adolescence this year as well. Zero hype, and then it's just here, and it's like it's amazing, and it's like okay, so there's sometimes the best. So again, we don't know what we don't know. So again, we still have a lot to look forward to. But again, I just want to take a minute to lament this amazing content period that like again tomorrow we're losing like a big thing that I feel we haven't got much of a chance to discuss Andor.
yeah.
But I feel like we're gonna have big long chats about it in the end of the year show.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I can't wait. It is the best thing on at the moment for me.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
it's
look,
what I look more like. I look forward to most every week is Wednesdays.
I'm so excited for Andor. Usually I save it for Wednesday evening, but like I'm waking up early and I have a whole thing planned. Like whenever I wake up, I'm big into my mood lighting these days, like setting up kind of I have Bluetooth lighting with Alexa and I have different moods for different time periods. And one of those moods is a Star Wars mood because I'm me. And I
Love it.
have my alarm set for like 10 to 2 when Andor's about to start. And the alarm is I get the mood lighting to come on and the Star Wars team plays, and I'm just like every time it happens, I wake up like fuck
Unreal.
yeah. So I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing. I cannot fucking
Yeah,
wait.
it's
But then you have the
it's
vacuum
I
over
can't
as
wait as
well.
well.
Yeah, yeah.
I know, but then you're gonna rewatch Rogue One, and then you're gonna probably want to watch A New Hope, and it's gonna start all over again, man.
Yeah, yeah, I probably will end up just watching all 8 Star Wars movies. I don't acknowledge The Last Skywalker, but yeah, and again then playing The Last of Us at the end of it. So yeah, the content cycle never ends. Um we're not here to discuss Andor though, as much as we'd like to. We're here to discuss the latest Last of Us episode, episode 5, Feel Her Love. And we're going to discuss it. It is into the Spoilerverse, so you probably guessed it. We're going to discuss it with spoilers, guys. So be careful if you haven't seen the episode. Don't add us if you haven't. We're going to discuss the episode with spoilers. So if you've seen episode 5, whether you played the games or not, you are safe to proceed. We will have a bit at the end where we discuss using context from the video games, but we're going to keep that for the very end as well because I know that worries and stresses some people out as well if they don't want to listen. Worth keeping in mind is that we've actually gone past where Kev has played now in the video games.
Mhm.
So I'll also be protecting Kev from spoilers. So again, you're probably safe if you've seen up to this in terms of like what we will and what we reveal. But just a heads up, there will be spoilers. Before we get into the episode, as we always do, we are going to recap where we are to put you back into the mindset in case you're listening to this and binging it after you watch the whole series or however you want, just to remind you of where we are with our alt recap of season 2, episode 5. And we open cheerily as always on The Last of Us with a wolf mother being held in an office looking at the Wong Baker faces pain rating scale between 1 and 10. They didn't have a face for you've just sent your own son to his death and realized the deadly virus that started the apocalypse is airborne, so the diagram frankly was useless. That's right guys, in Seattle love isn't in the air, cordyceps is. I actually tell a lie. Maybe love is in the air. There's some room for it. As Dina playfully tells the non-school oriented Ellie to go long while she tries to triangulate a plan through the Seattle war zone. Despite realizing the plan was reckless and Ellie remembering Dina is spewing morning sickness literally every 10 steps, including when they encounter another collection of Seraphite corpses, Dina breaks the tension by talking about how she killed the man who murdered her mother and sister when she was a child. That sounds really bleak, but actually in the apocalypse that's a fairy tale. It's literally like, here Mick, come over here. Tell them how you murdered your family's murderer. Tell us that. Go on. It's a fucking gas, this story. It's a different time. It's fairly dark, but look, you get used to it. Because their entire plan is dumb, they end up finding themselves cornered in a warehouse by 7 stalkers posing like the Scarlet Witch. They still have time to say they love each other throughout all of this, which, aw, very cute. But seriously, Ellie is getting her face eaten off by stalkers. You need someone with a bit of urgency to break things up here, guys. Fortunately, they caused such a racket that Jesse heard them from Washington, D.C. and was able to show up just in time for the rescue. They run into a park to find a gang of Seraphites torturing and hanging a wolf whistling like a gang of builders working on a porn set. Eddie leads them away so Tommy can get Dina, who's been shot in the leg with an arrow, back to the theatre. While escaping, Ellie finds the hospital we opened the episode in and tracks down Nora, who held her down as she watched Joel die. She chases Nora down to Chekhov's spore-filled basement where she tortures her as she bleeds out. Speaking of torture, we end the episode with a shot of Joel, everyone's favourite torturer, waking up Ellie. And that was season 2, episode 5 of The Last of Us. Directed by Stephen Williams, that was Feel Her Love. Kev, we're in the business end now. Did you feel the love for Feel Her Love? What are your thoughts on the episode? Did you like it? Did you have fun? How are you feeling about how the series is going after watching?
Well, there wasn't no Adele songs in it, so I was kind of disappointed by that. But that's actually a Bob Dylan song. I think Adele covers it. But anyway, I really liked this episode. I thought it was great. I loved the opening. I did. I know a lot of people complained last season that we weren't getting any of the spores, and they were clearly just saving it up for this season. And I liked that we've got like a bit more of a progression. I think with the cordyceps that now it's getting airborne. So I do like how they've actually done that narratively. I was getting a little worried when Dina and Ellie were making their plans and they were kind of going out to execute this plan. And I'm like, Dina's the main character here. Ellie's, to me, feels like this doesn't feel like her show anymore. Like it's all about Dina. She's the smart one, fucking triangulating all their plans. Ellie's really portrayed as kind of dumb, which I think is an odd choice for someone who survived with Joel for so long that he taught her nothing. But after you kind of get the run in and the Jesse save and after the park and Ellie really kind of comes into her own then, I was like, okay, we're back again now. So it feels like Ellie's show again. And I thought the last 15 minutes of the show, especially of this episode, was phenomenal. Because I don't know anything about what happens now in the game. So the lighting, the the tension and everything in that was, even the dialogue as well was brilliant. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought this was like it's tough because we spoke about Andor at the top of the episode, and we're watching it almost side by side with
Mm,
Andor,
yeah,
and it's not necessarily a flattering comparison, and that's not a bad thing. I don't think anything fits well side by side with Andor, when you're watching two prestige things. And Andor definitely for me is outperforming this, and I'm very much like you, and that's the show I find myself absolutely buzzing about and thinking about for the rest of the week. And then I'm like, oh, cool, The Last of Us is here. I like this show a
yeah,
lot. I think it's held up its own end of the bargain, and I admire some of the creative choices made. I really like when they give us extra bits like the cold opens the past couple of weeks they've given us, with a bit more background into the wolves and kind of humanizing them as well, but also showing us how things work in kind of Seattle in a way that we didn't get to see in the games. So I do like this show. I find it really interesting, but I'm finding myself liking it more from an intellectual standpoint, like in terms of,
mm,
oh, that's a nice creative decision, than an emotional one. You know what I mean?
that's it. Yeah,
Andor, and I'm so bought in and invested, especially in the last three episodes, which we won't get into. You can listen to Starjares if you want to hear us discuss it. We released a new episode the weekend, but
right up for you.
I listened to, like, I watched the last three episodes like with my nails dug in to the bed and just like "Rah!" Whereas a lot of this time I find myself kind of being like, oh, Bella Ramsey made an interesting choice there. Oh, that's a good storyline. Oh, it's slightly different away from the get. You know what I mean? And I'm watching it on that level, and there's nothing wrong with this show. And generally when I think about these things, I like them, but it lacks that buy-in that the top shows have. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Season one had it. Like I cried so many times throughout season one. And I guess I'm just missing that. I'm not crying for The Last of Us now. I'm
yeah,
interested in it. I enjoy it, but I'm not at that level. I think we'll have to look back on this when the entire series is ended, and I'm very much looking forward to that conversation because I think we'll understand a lot better. Next week, I feel like we're gonna cry quite a lot. I like given
yeah,
the ending that they had, and also knowing what's coming myself. But like, so again, there's a lot of ball left in the game. There's 2 hours of TV left, and it's 2 big hours with a lot still to go. So I could feel differently, but that's where I'm at with The Last of Us, and that's where I was at with this episode. Interested, intrigued, enjoyed it, and then immediately started thinking, oh, Andor, the finale's on this week, and that's where I'm at, you know.
yeah. I hear you. Yeah, Andor, like last week, I fucking sobbed, I think, for one of the episodes after. And I needed to take a break because and Andor does have 3 episodes in a row going for it. But after the second episode, I had to take a break for half an hour, be like, okay,
Yeah.
I need to just reset for a little bit after that. And yeah, like some of the big emotional beats that have happened so far in The Last of Us, um, they haven't really done anything for me. And I don't know what it is. It's like, this should be clicking, and it's not. No
Yeah.
pun intended.
You're
um,
stalking, man. Oh no, I don't get the game. Sorry. Yeah.
um,
Oh, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
like
Go ahead.
like you said, I do like some of the creative choices that they are doing, and I do think they do the action set pieces extremely well. It's just some of the bits in between aren't connecting the way they should.
Yeah, and like, part of me wonders, I'm like, is this just because it's in Andor's big fat shadow? And I think yes. I think yes. I think I would spend the
So yeah,
entire week thinking about this show if I didn't have Andor to think about at the same time. You know what I mean?
mm,
Like, I don't feel the show is in any way weak. I'm enjoying it. I like it. But it is Andor's just winning. Andor's just better. And that's probably more of a testament to how good Andor is rather than a criticism of this? Because I'm
mm,
having a lot of fun on this, but it is very much coming in second. And that's interesting to me. And I just think it's worth noting. It's not a criticism. It's just interesting because very much after season one, I was like, this is like, and I think he even said it at one point. I'm like, I think after Joel's death in this season, I was like, we're going to talk about this like The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, The Last of Us. It's going to be in that conversation. I don't feel that way right now. I could, because again, I know the story and I know how good the story is, and I know some of the swings they're planning to take with the story, and it is a full, like when you take the story of the second game in its entirety, it is a story that does take a lot of swings, which is going to ask a lot of the audience, which is why I was so interested in it coming into the season, because I'm like, this will make or break this show. They made the biggest show on the planet, and now they're going to start swinging and actually doing things which will provoke the audience and risk upsetting people. And to their credit, again, I don't think the show has done any of that. I think they've landed quite softly on a lot of the things. I think they've managed to get away with it. They've avoided a lot of the toxic discourse that the game inspired so far. There's none of that there. The toxic discourse tends to just come like mainly talking about Bella Ramsey's physical appearance, but that's just the corners of
Mm.
the that a lot of gamers inhabit. And again, I don't take that too seriously, and I don't read into it as anything more than just a bunch of weirdos. But it's avoided a lot of the mess that the second game created, because the second game came bundling into the room like, we're gonna kill Joel, and it's just like shit. I'm not ready for that. But it is interesting, and I think it's worth us both acknowledging that. Yeah, but for me, I think it's just in Andor's big fat shadow, and I think
Yeah.
90%, not 90, 98% of TV shows of all time would suffer from that, from being compared in a
Yeah,
directly
oh,
comparable,
100%.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
it's it's these 4 weeks though as well, because Andor is essentially 4 movies as
yeah,
well. Like it's not just an hour long episode a week. You're getting 2.5 hours solid TV from
yeah,
Andor. Um,
definitely.
with its own little mini arcs going throughout it too. It's just it's really hard to compete with that, and and it's weird to nearly feel sorry for a prestige HBO show. Like here
Yeah,
we are.
yeah, yeah. It's like it reminds me a bit of the Bear last year, and I don't want to, because I think that that's almost an unfair comparison on how good this season is and the positive qualities it has. Because I thought that was a weak season of the Bear last season anyway, and I think I would have felt that all the time. But the fact that it was surrounded by so much other great TV. Remember, we did the Dragon Boys of Summer, we had The Boys, we
Mm,
had House of Dragon, we had Deadpool and Wolverine. We had so much going on that was stimulating to us. That when the Bear was a little bit flat, we're like, nah. And again, if the Bear had time this year, we're looking forward to the Bear because it's probably going to be the only thing we're watching at that time. So we're probably going to love it a lot more because we're not trying to fit it into a content squeeze. So sometimes you have to contextualize that too. And I think part of that is what's happening without this show being
mm.
in any way, wouldn't even say it's flawed or imperfect. I start to use that kind of slightly veering into the negative language around. I don't mean to criticize. This is a really good show. It's just competing with a masterpiece.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And that's just tough. Let's talk about this though. As much as we do want to talk about Andor, which tells a story in
yeah,
itself. Spores are here now. And we touched on it obviously there. It was something that was saved. I don't know if it was something they were planning to say for this, especially even listening to the podcast. I think it was something where it's like, oh well, we have to do spores now, so let's do it this way. How did you feel about this? How this was executed? It's adding this element to the game or to the show.
um, it's good. I can't remember how it's portrayed in the, and I don't want to talk about the game too much. I can't remember how exactly it's portrayed in it. I know they have to wear masks every now and again, but if it's only airborne in certain spots, isn't it?
And
So
I
I
think
thought it
it's the
was,
same here. I think the rules are pretty much the same here. In the game,
yeah.
it is something we can discuss for comparison because this is something that they have transported over, and it kind of sets the rules. But it's very much like it is a device in the game. It's not something that ever becomes a plot point, but it's a device to show how Ellie is immune. Because again, you can't
Yes.
have her go around getting bit constantly. That just is unsatisfying. Like, and again, it's confusing. So you have to visually demonstrate Ellie can walk through this. Joel has to wear a gas mask. Ellie can walk through this. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore she's immune. It's not a plot
And
point,
she's
whereas
fine.
it is a plot point here, and I guess that's what makes it interesting. In we're big zombie movie and TV show and video game fans. How do you feel that fits within that genre as kind of it is kind of unique. I don't know if I can think of a project that's used that
It's
kind of concept.
Yeah, it's a great little extra wrinkle on top of this, and the fact that it's kind of contained in this one room, and the amount of I will always praise this show actually for its set design and cinematography. I think it's like outstanding, and that set design in that B2 level room was unbelievable looking. And what's etched into my memory from the episode actually is the two guys, one of Leon and there's another guy as well who were just completely caught up in the cordyceps, breathing out the spores, and it's such an awful image. Like I was at the doctor's like 2 weeks ago with bronchitis, and it was like I had like a wheeze and everything. So when I was watching that, I was like, just I can nearly feel my lungs getting caught up again, and it was just
Yeah.
I hated it, and it really felt like very claustrophobic even just seeing that, and like you felt like that nearly like you're that drowning kind of feeling even just seeing these guys just breathing out these spores and still being alive, and I think that's a really horrific image as well, like knowing they're still conscious but there's nothing they can really do other than breathe out these spores and be a part of this other being. Um, and I love that. I thought that's my kind of horror of like kind of on the upper scale of fucked up.
Yeah, the overscale of fucked up. I love it. Prestige fucked up.
Yeah, prestige fucked up.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah, yeah. Did you ever see the BBC? I had to look. I always forget this, and it's one of my favorite zombie stories ever. I always forget the name of it. It's a BBC three series they did. It was released. There was two series in it in 2013 and 2014. It's called In the Flesh. It stars Ricky Tomlinson, Jim Royal from the Royal Family.
No, never watched it.
You'll love it. It is a really niche find, but it is a really effective zombie story in that actually it presents zombies as still having a consciousness, but they also have a compulsion to eat people. And then it almost becomes a political push-pull story that I think would do quite well now if they kind of re-released it. Because almost zombieism becomes a culture war. And they're like, we have a
Okay.
right to live as well. And then it's like it becomes, well, actually, and it becomes an intellectual debate where it's like, actually, we're the evolution of your species. You know what I mean? And we are what like we are what humans have evolved into. So this is just happening and you just have to deal with it. You know what I mean? And you
Mm,
start to kind of wonder and you're like, oh, actually, that actually does feel like what a zombie apocalypse is. It's evolution taking its course, and we just don't like it because it's killing us. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay. And it makes you ask questions like, is that what we're afraid of in zombie? Is it actually just our arrogance? Obviously, we don't want to die, and we don't want our friends and family to die. But is it just our arrogance of feeling like this is the worst thing that could possibly happen? But actually, it's like, yeah, this happens to
um,
all the time.
yeah, I do think it's like it's a fear of not having control, because I think
Yeah,
zombies are kind of like always like you don't have control of your impulses anymore, and all you're just focused on is that. I think that's what the scary thing is. And the same with the cordyceps is like this thing has after taken over your brain, and you have no control over yourself anymore. And I think that's what's the scarier part about it
yeah.
than
It's
anything
it's
else.
evolution at play, and cordyceps. That's why it reminded me of this because cordyceps is the world evolving. Like that's what's happened. This is what the world has become, and that's what evolution is, and that's scary for us to think of, especially when there's a little bit of science that it's based on. What I loved about this scene and why I bring up this tangent is it's fucked up and it looks scary as fuck. The hallway as we walk through it. In another sense, there's a beauty to it. Like the colors, the vibrancy, the breath coming out of their mouth so visibly, like the little kind of, it's
Mm,
almost like the cordyceps in the air is almost like fireflies. Do you know what I mean? And walking through it is like almost hypnotic. You know what I mean? But it's also horrific at the time. The fact that Ellie's just walking past infected who are so badly infected or just like embraced by cordyceps that they don't even blink. They're not reaching out together like every other infected is. They've just kind of accepted their fate. Like it was, I thought that was
yeah,
beautiful. I thought it was really, really effective. And it probably was my favorite part of this episode, the
yeah,
visual of it and how they tell this story, but also just the escalation. I really like how they're doing this. It doesn't feel like just an escalation from a video game. It feels like a natural escalation of this, and you don't see that done well in zombie stories that often. Like it's like, oh, but they're normal zombies, but they run. You know what I mean? It's like that's pretty much the limit of like where you see evolution of zombies. This is like there's so many different threats. This is the one zombie apocalypse that I look at that I'm like, I wouldn't want to live. I'd tap out like as soon as I learned what this was. Like, I don't want to challenge myself. I don't want to see if I'd survive. I don't want to be a part of this world where if like I happen to avoid the hordes of zombies waiting around every corner, the air is going to kill me in the most horrific manner possible. And it's not even kills them. It feels like they're still somewhat alive, but
Yeah,
cordyceps over. It's horrific.
that's the most terrifying part. Yeah, you can still see there's a bit of life still in their eyes, but they can't do anything.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
awful. Yeah, man.
It's terrific, but again, also visually beautiful, and also like
Mm,
there's a way of looking at it where like this is evolution, this is a new world that's taken over, and actually our characters are and our heroes are just the old world, and they're fighting against it. It's they're the rebellion, and this is the empire almost. And there we are back at Star Wars,
bring it back to Star Wars.
and I'm finishing tonight, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Um. Something we almost definitely can't transition into Star Wars, but watch us try, is Dina. We got a good glimpse of her backstory here, and a real
Mm.
kind of showcase for Isabel Merced. What were your thoughts on learning more about Dina here?
I this is her performance here and her monologue and her backstory and the vitriol she told it with. I was like, this is what Ellie needs to be doing. Like this. That's the when I was said earlier. I was like, oh shit, this is Dina's show at right now, and I was kind of as much as I do love Dina, and I loved her performance here as well. It worried me till the last 15 minutes of the show that I was like, fuck, you're winning me over way more than Ellie is right now, with even with your backstory,
Okay.
and your performance here as well. And it was nearly like Dina's um uh what do I want to say? Um her kind of mantra, I suppose, of if someone hurts one of my family like that or murdered them, I don't care what they did in the first place to cause this, I'm getting revenge. And
Mm.
that's like that should have been, and I think it was maybe just needed Ellie need to be reminded of that, because it seems like she completely forgot that over the last episode and a half. Like, you're supposed to give a shit about Joel here, and you never seemed like you cared all that much till then. But maybe that was a shot in the arm she needed, or the arrow to the leg she needed. So I don't know.
I
um,
think it's one of these roles where Isabella Merced was so good as Dina that they're like, we need to like maybe it happened in the edit or maybe they boosted it on script, but they made Dina into such a big, fundamentally core character. And Isabel Merced can carry it because she is the breakout star of this season. She's phenomenal. I loved her like the way she brought it up, the casualness, like she's trauma dumping in a way that Ellie trauma dumped on her in a previous episode, but like it's someone who has dealt with their trauma but not dealt with their trauma. Do you know what I mean? She's like she's come to terms with it. Like I loved her delivery where it's like, I already know this story ends because I don't live in a cabin in Santa Fe anymore and I don't have a mom and a sister anymore. But since everyone's past is fucked, how do you think this ends? And it's
mm,
just like there's a there's a vitriol there, but almost a resigned vitriol. And again, just the way she carries it is fantastic. What I loved about the scene as well is that the story. Hate doing this, and I promised I wouldn't, but I'm gonna anyway. In Star Wars, no, I'm not gonna talk about Star Wars. I'm only joking. um, no, but like in the video game when you play it, you're driven by Ellie's grief because you are Ellie and you have been Joel. You've played as Joel and you are Ellie and you want to go out and kill everyone in front of you because you're genuinely grieving because you feel that almost parasocial relationship with that. But the story itself does ask questions of why is everyone here? Why is Dina going out here even though she's pregnant? Why is Ellie allowing Dina to go out even though she knows she's pregnant and it's her revenge mission and so on and so forth? I really liked how this scene made everyone's motivations made sense. Because I'm like, I
Mm.
don't have to worry about that because I understand now why the characters are done here, but it's also done really well. It's not like a clunky scene, it's a really effective scene. I really enjoyed it. I'm interested in this because I know now you're in uncharted territory as far as the story goes. Tell me
Yeah.
more about the fact that you think it's a problem that you're liking Dina more? Are you disliking Ellie or do you just feel Ellie's being overshadowed? Just talk to me a bit more about that. I'd love to hear.
Um, I kind of just feel like she's just being a bit overshadowed. Like even Dina, the start of her telling that story to me seemed like Ellie was. I think she. This was like just after they'd seen all the Sephirotes, the big group of bodies, and they're kind
Mm,
of all the both of them are in shock. And Dina snaps Ellie out of it by just being like, "Oh, I never told you the first person I killed," and
mm.
just gets Ellie out of that. Which I really I liked that, but at the same time, it's taken away from Ellie a good bit. I think in terms of this person, someone that seems to have it completely have it together, knows what she's doing, and is really kind of the audience. I feel like is getting hit over the head with like Dina's smart, Ellie dumb with a lot of
Mm,
this. And like they even say it, I think, to each other, like when
yeah, it's
she's
a
like trying
joke.
to get it in the maps. Um, and they really beat you over the head of that until the hospital. And even at that, Ellie makes some kind of silly decisions, but at least she's revenge driven then, and you're like, okay, here's kind of what I wanted from um this season of Ellie. Um,
Do you want Ellie to exact her revenge? Do you want her to carry out her mission and go all the way and see her go full ham and kill Abby and everyone involved?
um, yeah, there's a dark part of me that absolutely wants to see
Well,
that.
like, I mean, more emotionally, that, like, obviously, look, it'd be a shit TV show if they said, hey, let's just go back and be a happy family all together. Yeah. So we want to see it from the standpoint of that's the entertaining storyline. But emotionally, is that what you want for Ellie in terms of your connection with her? And speak to that if you don't feel a connection or whatever, like, take that however you want it. I'm just interested.
um, yeah, because I think after Dina's story to her, Dina seems to be in an okay place. That she took her revenge out and has built a life for herself now. Jackson has kind of fallen in love with a girl. And you're like, well, okay, if you were able to do that, maybe he's able to do that as well.
Right.
Um, I I don't know. There's the part of me that I guess is kind of thinking maybe they're doing this on purpose with Ellie to make her that maybe not as revenge driven at the start, and it's going to kind of keep building and building and building. Because at the end of this episode, even though it was very cathartic, she is doing exactly what Abby did, basically,
Okay.
to Joel, and you're like, this girl's dying already, but you did call Joel a little bitch, so
Don't say shit about Joel. No, I get that. And
yeah.
I do want to get in depth on specifically the end of the episode. So no, I'm just really interested in your
Short
emotions.
answer, yeah, I want to see Ellie get revenge.
You want to see Ellie go out and take them all. Like, do you feel like when you like? Okay, we'll get to that. Okay, I'm very intrigued by this now. I kind of love this dynamic that you don't know what's coming and so on.
Hmm.
So I can pick your brain in terms of how you feel. I can watch it through your eyes. Um, let's talk about the Stalker battle and then Jesse's arrival. Like. Yes, but like again, between spores and stalkers, I'm tapping out of this apocalypse. I don't want any part of it. Like this was horrific, but an excellent action scene. I liked again, this is a show which thinks I think a lot more than again, I'm watching the new series of The Walking Dead Dead City, and it's just muck compared to this. And it's
Mm.
probably not as bad as I think it is, but it's just like this show thinks about these things and it plays into the characters where now it's all go time. Like Dina's outside and she's like, "So Ellie, what do we do? And then she's like, "We walk
Yeah,
backwards." I'm stupid, Ellie. We walk backwards. But it becomes go time. Um, and Ellie just immediately takes over. The roles reverse, and it just totally goes. the opposite
Mm.
way. And Ellie's in control, and she's like, "This is my world. We're fucked. Shit's hitting the fan. It's gone foobar. Get the fuck in that cage. I protect you." I loved the comparison that I heard in the podcast where it's like Ellie becomes Joel in that moment because that's Joel's instinct of I am the protector. Get the fuck over there. I will die for you. I really like that. Kind of in perspective. Thoughts on this scene, and also Jesse then coming to save the day at the end.
Yeah, I thought I didn't like I said, I have no idea where this territory is going, and I'm like, fuck, are we gonna get a game over screen here? Like I was like, how are they getting out of this?
Fatality.
Yeah. Especially when like there was one of the stalkers like ripping the roof off the cage as well. I was like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
And just the hopelessness at the end of that before Jesse showed up. I wasn't mad on Jesse showing up the way he did. If I'm being
Okay.
honest, I thought that was a bit okay. Of course, someone just comes to save them in the nick of time, but post that when he said, "I found your maps and I found the triangulated positions and I was able to follow you there," like, okay, you've given me something at least there to be like, oh,
Yeah.
that's how we knew. Yeah, but at the time when that happened, I was like, for fuck's sake, really?
Yeah.
But it did make sense in the end. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Though it's like Ellie did completely flip there and like went full Joel mode, yeah, in terms of protect. Even do you know what? Even before they went into that room, and he was like, because I think Dina wanted to go check it out, and he was like, "Who's going to go in? The person that can get infected, or the person who's completely immune?" And she was like, "Oh, you're being the smart one here. You're being the action oriented one. So maybe it's just brains and brawn is what they're going for here." And they're kind
I
of
think it's
smart in
different
different
types
ways.
of intelligence though as well. I think Ellie
Yeah,
has like she's that fight intelligence. She's that shit's hitting the fan. I know what to do. I'm
street
very good in
smarts.
those situations. Like I'm that type of brainy where like if you give me a simple like kind of scenario where there's no pressure on it and stuff like that, I might be a bit slow to kind of pick up on the gesture. But if you give me this is the problem. We're in a bind. We need to fix something very quickly. There's pressure on this. I'm just like boom, snapping in, do this, do that, and I just take the lead. And that's what I think happened with her. Whereas, like, we saw Dina then became a mother, like, worried about the safety of her child, and she started crying. And that's not something we've ever seen in Dina, who is quite
Mm,
brave in those scenarios, but she's like, I'm going to die. And Ellie's like, Ellie becomes Joel, and she's like, this is what happens. Like, what I loved as well was the decision that, like, it calls to mind kind of, do you remember in the first season there was that quote of you may be immune, but you can still get ripped apart at any stage. And Ellie
yeah.
knew she was about to get ripped apart. Like she knew she was dying. Doesn't matter if she can get bit. They'll fucking cut your neck. Do you know what I mean? Like they'll
Mm.
eat you. Like if you have no skin, you die, whether you're immune or not. And they're going to eat you. So she knew, but she made that snap judgment. And again, like she's that authoritative. When like if did we see like it was interesting how Dina just followed her because when have we ever seen Dina be like, okay, you die for me now? But like she was so authoritative in that scene that sometimes when people are panicking, the person who's just can speak confidently will just command the room and everyone just follows. You know,
She's
and that
Ellie's also the only one of the two of them though as well that has actually seen a stalker. Like these are new to Dina, so she doesn't know
yeah,
how they work, how they walk, how they act. And so Ellie's the only one that's seen one of these things in action. So it immediately becomes okay, Ellie's in charge because at least she knows a little bit about like Dina's completely taken off guard by this,
yeah.
which I thought was interesting as well. But like, yeah, all of them, the stalkers just getting revealed one by or two by two, probably think it was unbelievably good and really well done. I know you said at the start they're Scarlet Witch or there's a Black Widow posing.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, it
Um,
was. It was Black Widow, you're right, yeah.
but they were that was like it's such a great horror scene though. Really, really
Yeah.
terrifying.
I did
Uh,
also think of Elena being like, why do you pose like that? It's so silly. Such a poser. Doing a little little thing which I liked here as well was Jesse, like that moment where Ellie looks up and kind of she can't see who it is, but she just sees the boots and the jeans, and like she
Yeah.
logically knows it can't be, but there's that longing in her where she's like, Joel just saved me, and then there's the whole having to no, you idiot, Joel's dead, and then Jesse comes out of it as well. Like I thought that was interesting. I did feel the same, where it's a bit like Jesse Ex Machina, where he just
Yeah.
appears at exactly the right time. But yeah, I agree. I got it. And again, I like the fact that like him and Tommy sneaking out. I did appreciate that. That's interesting. Begs the question of where's Tommy right now? What's going on in there? Which we don't know. Like even if you know the story, you don't know what's next. You can have a good guess,
Okay.
but
Hmm.
yeah, it's new territory. So again, we don't know where Tommy is, and is he just back at the theater waiting for it? We don't know. No one knows that. So yeah, it's an interesting wrinkle. Um,
Yeah, and I don't even know, is like is Eddie on her own now, or is she going off with Tommy, or is because Dina's after taking a an arrow to the knee, as the
yeah.
meme would say. But yeah, I'm very curious to kind of to see what happens next with this.
Let's go into then. They sneak into the park where the chasing wolves are like, I'm not fucking going in there. Um,
Mm.
which was probably a good clue to not go any further, but they did, and they
No
instantly realized
choice.
why they were wrong. Yeah. Um, for me, I'm looking for mystery option C at that stage rather than just plowing ahead with option B that even my chasing enemies don't want to explore. I'd assume that there's something I don't know and
Yeah.
that it's not good. And we saw for the first time a new side of the Sephirites. I almost nearly called them scars, and genuinely, I feel like I'm about to accidentally say the N word when I say it because it is a slur. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, no, it's a made up slur in a made up world. They're not real. But we got to see a different side of the Sephirites in this. What were your thoughts? How did you feel about um getting to see a more violent side of this gang?
Um, I thought it was very well. I thought it was like horrific. That's the first thing I think is what you'd say about the way they killed that dude. But it was also really parallel to Isaac last week in terms
Mm.
of torturing that one person. Although they didn't care about this guy if he wanted to join them or not. But I thought that was kind of a good parallel to what Isaac did to one of theirs last week. Um, and kind of in a really horrific killed. Well, Isaac tortured before he just put him out of his misery, but this is just there's something about um, just that act of like your stomach being such a sensitive fucking area on you. It's just absolutely horrific.
Mm.
And it's one of those ones where I kind of have to half look away at that because it just makes me feel ill. Um,
I also don't necessarily see the point in doing it that way, though, right? Allow me to play devil's advocate here, right?
okay, go
You're
on.
hanging him. He's dead very quickly anyway. Like, what are you doing? It's just a visually sick scene.
It's
Is
their
it?
call
Well,
sign though, right?
they're sending a message. Yeah, it looks cool, and they're sending a message of "we'll dismember you." So I guess it doesn't really affect.
It's I think it's to scare other wolves that come across
Yeah,
it as well.
yeah. This is why they
So
don't go into the park. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, look, that's the
yeah,
answer to the question. Yeah, um, yeah, that's fair. Um, then of course Ellie gets away, but
hides in a tree.
yeah, under a tree. Yeah, great. Like again, good. I also like as well, like people are again, people have issues with the fact that Bella is smaller than kind of the Ellie they'd know, particularly gamers, obviously, and they've developed kind of a relationship and affinity to her. Um, I think they use it really well in the TV show. Like she escapes so often because of her size. Like last week, she's like, "We can fit through this. We can go through there. They can't." You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think they use that really well. They use like her physical qualities. Like again, that just wouldn't have been like if you're playing the video game, you just crouch. You just go into the grass. Like that's why the grass is long and you can just crouch and crawl and they can't see unless they get right on top of you and stuff. But like you can't do that here, and they have to establish this. So I think they use it cleverly. But she does eventually spot the hospital, and that's where she has her confrontation with Nora. That's the highlight of the episode, and I think that's kind of what we've wanted to discuss. So let's take the breaks off and let's just chat
Oh,
about the.
before we get into it though, let's just give a shout out to that one fucking idiot guard who was like, "Eh, it's probably just a critter." You're like, really? Your dog's going fucking mental. It's like, it's probably just a rat.
Yeah, Bonnie hates cats. Like, yeah, I don't know. No, come on, man. Like, Jesus, trust the dog. Yeah, exactly.
I
Like,
know.
trust the
Like,
dogs, not the wolves. There you go. That's it.
there you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a reason you
yeah,
have dogs.
yeah. That's it. Exactly. Literally, it's doing its job really well. Bonnie is the definition of a good girl. I will
Yeah,
not hear a bad word said about Bonnie.
100%.
But yeah, no, totally agree.
um, but yeah, the hospital scene as well. If we get into this, I thought it was incredibly well done. I loved her sneaking up on Nora. I loved all of the just the dialogue of just consistently asking, "Where's Abby? Where's Abby?"
So calmly as well. I feel that Bella Ramsey has these moments where she's had her doubters ever since she's been cast. There's been people determined to hate her in this role before they saw a second of her playing Ellie because she just doesn't look like the Ellie that people know.
Yeah,
And then she has these moments in season one. It was the episode after she was nearly raped and how she reacted and stuff like that. They were like, fuck me, this is the one, like whatever it is. And for me, this was a scene that was like, that's why Bella Ramsey is in this job. Like how calmly she delivered it, where it's like, where's
mm,
Abby? And then it's like, you've killed us both with the spores. Did I? And it's just
yeah,
like that is scarier. That's a tone of voice we've never heard her use as Ellie. And it's so calm and methodical and sure of what she's gonna do for the first time. And like, fuck me, that was chilling.
yeah. Like whatever about you dying on the ground, knowing, okay, I've been infected and I'm fucked. Seeing this person emerge out of the spores completely unaffected as well, and that realization. It's like imagine the whole building was like on fire and Ellie's just walking through as like and nothing's harming her at all. It's like that level of oh
Khaleesi and they coming out
fuck.
there.
Yeah, 100% that. Yeah, yeah. It's that kind of a moment. And I did love I don't know who the girl is who plays Nora, but I thought her reactions to that I thought were really, really good.
Yeah.
Also the red light. I need to give a shout out to that as just an just atmosphere intensifier, I suppose, is the best word to use it. But I loved the imagery of just red and black in this. It just was nearly silhouette and just it's that side of Ellie, that more sadistic side of Ellie, kind of coming out with that red light. And you're like, she's basically seeing red, seeing Nora. Um, I loved that. I thought it was really, really well done. And like you said, how nearly sadistically calm she is with all of that, of like, where's Abby? And even the way, I don't know if this is in the game or not, of Nora saying basically Joel's secret to her, which I was kind of surprised about.
Yeah.
Um,
And she said, I know. So she
and she said, I
acknowledged.
know,
So
yeah. So
we've no idea how she knows.
unless she always knew at the end of season one, which is like
She
when
just knew he
Joel,
was lying. But again,
yeah,
she wouldn't know the specifics. Like she wouldn't like she could probably guess, like, yeah, it's Joel. He likes to kill people. That is a very Joel thing to do. So they're probably all dead. But she's no way of knowing because she just wakes up in the car. Do you know what I mean? And
hmm,
that's it. And the only evidence she has is I'm still in my hospital gown. Why am I
yeah,
still in my hospital gown? Why did I not even say goodbye to Marlena? She's someone that I have a relationship with. Like, you could infer, but you don't have any idea what happened there. So it feels like she knows more, and it feels like there's a reason for that.
yeah. Um, and I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if we get to find out how she knows or if it's. And you know what? Even if we don't, I think that's a really cool narrative that you can kind of figure for yourself of how she knows.
Hmm.
Um,
I'd say it'd be poor. Being honest, I'd say it'd be poor form if they didn't. Like, you need to know what she knows and how she feels about it. Like they need to close that loop somewhere. So yeah, I definitely do think she is. One thing I kind of want to get your thoughts on as well though, like is we've spoken about this as we've gone through the series, is that like even last week when she was playing Take on Me, I asked, did you think of Joel at all in this? And you were like, yeah, well, when she said his name, then yeah, but like otherwise, no. A lot of this, the past two episodes have been almost a love story with her and Dina. And now
Mm,
we're seeing her literally in the red light. I loved it's obviously an amazing visual, but the visual storytelling is good. We're literally seeing Ellie in a light we've never seen her before.
yeah.
Um, did that feel earned to you? Had they built up the breadcrumbs again? Having not like again, you don't know this moment is coming. Um, so this is quite a shift from the Ellie that you've grown accustomed and connected to in the series. Did this feel earned to see her behave this way in a sadistic way we've never seen her behave before?
Um, Short answer, no.
Okay.
Um, I think if this was a bit closer to when Joel had died, it would have felt a bit more real.
Hmm.
But it feels like, unless her not knowing what's happened to Dina, her just being in this stressful situation, her just seeing red, coming to term, or just seeing this person that held her down while Joel was killed, and maybe not thinking about that till she actually sees her. But then I'm just making that up in my head. Um, I guess you can kind of you can join some dots together to see, okay, this is how she became so sadistic, but um, it, I feel it feels like too much time has passed uh, with her not portraying that level of anger and revenge,
Hmm.
and kind of focus on, we have to get to these people.
Yeah. I feel like you hit the nail on the head there and used the exact phrase that was in my head of join the dots. Like there
Mm,
is stuff here. Like we have that moment of um her when Dina is like, leave me alone, you're too stupid to triangulate. And she's like, what's a triangulate? And then she goes off to the stage and plays the guitar. And then she sings that line. And I mentioned it last week and we had a whole
mm,
discussion about this. She sings, if I ever lose you, you know, or if I ever were to lose you, which is reference to Future Days by Pearl Jam, which that will make a lot more sense. Okay. Um, but then there's that moment, and there was a great story on the Last of Us podcast where you just hear the rumbling, and she almost has to put the guitar down. You feel like she's going to sing a full song, but then there's that moment where she puts the guitar down, and she just starts. The camera starts spinning around her, and she almost starts spiraling. And there's a rumble there, and you don't know why, but you know that, like again, especially if you don't know the story and you're watching it fresh. Um, you're like, oh shit, whatever's happening, Ellie's trauma is coming in, and she's
mm.
like, you can infer from the lyrics of "If I Ever Were to Lose You," who has Ellie lost? But why that song? Why did she sing it? Why did she do that? That stuff is unexplained. Um, there's little breadcrumbs they left us. Like I loved when she was speaking to Dina after Dina gets sick when she sees the Seraphites and is like, "Oh my God, you're pregnant. If you want, I can like take you back, and I'll do this by myself." Notice how the option for her to go back with her and stay there and mind her was never there. She's doing this either way. That's what's going on. And then we think of Gail turning around in a previous episode and saying, Ellie is a liar. So when we look at Elliot all the time, we are watching someone who is doing a performance. And actually, we know that her base instincts are probably to be violent. The show has conditioned us for this. But you're right in what you say is that to make sense of all of this, you have to join the dots. And you can argue that that's subtle storytelling. I want to touch on this in the video game section in particular, but you can argue that that's subtle storytelling, or you can also argue that it's clumsy a bit in that it hasn't actually. It's left us to have to do the work. And there are some things where, for example, if I ever were to lose you, if you haven't played the game, you've no idea why that song's relevant. I feel like
Yeah.
you will. They're foreshadowing something with that as well. And I've spoken about that last week. But it's in reverse. Structurally, it's a bit weird, and I don't feel that like that's why I asked the question. I'm interested to know that you weren't emotionally there with, oh fuck, we're gonna see this, and I feel that a lot of people will feel the same who don't know that and who haven't done the kind of work to do that. And a show should never leave you to have to do work or infer what the characters are saying. It should be there, if not directly and obviously through the script, then at least through character reactions. There's bits of it, you can piece it together, but I don't know if you're necessarily primed for that, you know?
Yeah. And do you feel like that's a really interesting point you actually made there as well? Like that this side of Ellie that we've seen for most of the season has just been a mask, and she's just lying with Dina. Like this isn't the real her at all. This is like all an act, and then this is the real Ellie we're just after seeing for the last 15 minutes. Like this is what's been bubbling up. As
Here's the
soon as she breaks away from Dina on her own, she's different.
here's the thing. I don't know what the show is trying to tell me. You know what I mean?
Mm,
They can argue that because of Gail's speech about her being a liar. So maybe all of
yeah,
this is a mask. I don't know if I necessarily believe that because it feels like she does love Dina. You know what I mean? Like she wasn't acting when she was doing longing looks while Dina's back was turned to her in the tent. Do you know what I mean? So if they were to say, "Oh, she's only acting, lol, she doesn't love Dina, she just wanted to get her bit," and then so like
I think more like in a shameful way though, of like if Dina sees this part of me, she's not gonna like me. So as soon as Dina's gone and she sees that hospital, she's
hmm,
real Ellie.
that's an interesting take. That's a very interesting take. Yeah, but
But
I
that's
also feel
that's kind of what I thought you were getting at. So I was like,
And,
oh,
th-
this is
and then there's a story there. And look, that is part of the overall story of Ellie is kind of losing herself to the grief and the need for revenge. Do you know what I mean? And we spoke about that last week, how and we have been speaking about it, about how Dina's right there. There's your off ramp to a happy life. Go back to
mm.
Jackson, mourn Joel, grieve him, do what you need to do, but go live a happy life. She's there. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if the show is. I think they put all the pieces there, but the jigsaw puzzle is on the table, and you can put it together yourself, and it can paint a beautiful picture. But you do have to put it together yourself.
It's
Do you know
leaving
what
the
I mean?
audience with a lot of work to do.
Yeah. So you're again, it should leave us primed in those key moments.
Mm.
For I know exactly. Like you should be looking at that while Ellie's going down. I don't know if you should feel. I feel like if I didn't know that moment was going to happen, I would have felt shocked. Like, oh Jesus, like Ellie, what the fuck? Um, but I feel like the way the audience should be primed is you're walking down and you go, oh Ellie, don't do it. Like it should feel like a tragedy. Oh Ellie, don't. Oh, like I feel like I should know she's about to get super violent. She's walking through red. She's seeing red. She's really quiet. She's acting different, and I'm like, Ellie, please, like, no, it's not worth this. You know what I mean? And I don't know if emotionally everyone's there. I feel like it's
I
one of the only.
wasn't. I was just like, yeah, fucking beat that bitch, because
Yeah.
she called Joel a bitch, and it was like
Don't call Joel a bitch.
if she had pleaded with, and she's probably gonna kill her anyway, but like I thought it would have been more interesting if she completely broke down and didn't call Joel a bitch and was just like, we were only following Abby and was trying to empathize with her and kind of reason with her, but she didn't. And you're kind of like, well, look, you get what you fucking deserve.
Yeah. And Joel got what he deserved, like the bitch he is.
Yeah, 100%. Joel
Yeah,
did
yeah,
get
yeah.
what he deserved.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Um,
Okay. I do want to kind of get a bit more. I want to take the gloves off. So I'm going to give this warning, guys. Did you hear that?
yep.
Very good. Thank you very much. This is for anyone who's only half listening, guys. If you're only half listening, I know how it is with podcasts, but we are going to talk with video game spoilers now again. So we will talk about things in the video game. Not full spoilers, but again, just a warning. This is going to be video game conversation. If you hate it, then go away. Come back next week. But you have your warning. There you go. Literally have a siren. I don't like how suddenly that ends. It freaks me out. It's like war is starting. No, it's not. Only joking. Yeah. So there's a few different things here and a few interesting ones and a few different Easter eggs in this. Um for me, next week we saw Joel end the episode. Okay, and
Yeah.
we know through that um that it's Ooh, sorry, I got distracted by a text. It's WWE SmackDown ticket sales day tomorrow as well. So
Oh, it is. Yeah, I've got the pre-sale
yeah,
fucking codes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Um, Structurally, I think this show is suffering a little bit from the structure that it's chosen. In that, I get what they were trying to do by keeping it away from like keeping you away from Pedro Pascal, so you have to mourn him and miss him, and then when he shows back up at the end of the episode, you're like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, but I feel like we're missing those breadcrumbs. If I ever were to leave you, being before Take on Me matters for the reasons that we spoke about last week. Listen to last week's episode. I'm not going to get back into it again. Um, that makes sense of the song being here. You know what I mean? That's why she sang it. We've no idea if we haven't watched that was Joel's song to her. And
Mm.
you'll have to put yourself retrospectively in that. And again, they can make it work if they nail these scenes. And Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey have a track record of nailing scenes they have together. So I've no doubt next week's episode is going to be great. But it's left us with a lot of I would have liked and I would have felt more primed. The way they do the flashbacks through in the game is they intersperse it with the story. So like a flashback will happen at the end of day one, and you're very much aware that Ellie is thinking of Joel and she's thinking of this moment, and that's what she's remembering and that's what she's dreaming about. So when she wakes up the next morning, that's the first thing on her mind. So when she acts normal with Dina, you're like, Ellie's not normal. Ellie's thinking about this memory. Ellie's
Mm.
fucked up, Dina. Please notice it. You know what I mean? And that's what I feel the show is missing by piling all of Pedro Pascal into episode 6. All of the flashback
Do you
memories.
think it's going to be a complete flashback episode? Like it's
Yes.
a full on.
I like it, whether it's a full one or if it's like interspersed with clips of like if it's almost like a clip show of new material, like where Ellie's like, and then remember the time that Joel said this, and they do a flashback. I don't think it's going to be that cheesy. Well, I do feel it's going to be it's going to be the Pedro Pascal. It's going to be like the Left Behind episode last season, where there's
Yes.
probably a point for Ellie to reminisce, and then she goes back through these memories. We have If I Ever Were to Lose You. I think that's nailed on to happen. The dinosaur scene, you still don't know what I mean by the dinosaur.
No.
Oh my God, you're gonna know what I mean after that. Like, and I think that's gonna be a scene that actually you don't need to have played the game to appreciate. I think that's gonna translate really fucking well on TV.
Yeah.
It's a very adaptable scene, and it's an emotional core scene. And I also think that again, I'm not going to tell you how, like, again, with specifics, but we will learn next week how Ellie knows and why she knows. Like, that's going to happen next week. That's something that does happen around this time. We're going to get that scene. It's important. So we're going to
Do
know
you think we're
exactly.
gonna get Joey Pants next week?
Yeah, Joey Pants. How do we forget about Joey Pants watch?
Yeah.
Holy fuck, we're getting Joey Pants. Okay, so there's that too. That has to play into it. Imagine it was just the end of the finale. Like Joey Pants just like very end of the show. And Joey Pants was like, hey guys, I'm alive. Like, that's what we're waiting for. Yeah, we're getting Joey Pants.
With his weird fucking Kangol thing that he used to wear in the Matrix.
Yeah. Yes, Joey Pants alert. We
Yeah.
are on Joey Pants alert. So yeah, I think that's what's happening next week. Um, Thoughts on Ellie being dumb here, because this is sparking a lot of conversation. Like this is very different from her portrayal in
Yeah,
the book.
it just didn't make sense to me having gone through season one and learning from Joel that she doesn't know how to like triangulate coordinates, or even have any kind of education in Jackson because she's been there for what 3 years since the first season. And I know she's like very gung ho, but like I don't know. It kind of bothered me a little bit that there's certain survivalist skills even that like not doesn't necessarily have like I know maths kind of comes into it, but there's survivalist skills that she should know really
Yeah,
at this stage. And I thought it was a really weird way of portraying it.
yeah.
um, I kind of took away from her character a little bit.
I think
Now, I don't know what she's
I
like in the game. I
think the
presume
point.
she's a bit more street smart in the game, is she?
Oh yeah, and
Mm.
this is where I think people are bumping on the show. And the Bella Ramsey is almost a backlash to it. Um,
Mm.
Like they're projecting their frustration onto Bella Ramsey. And I think what we have to come to and accept here is this is not the Ellie from the video game. This is Bella Ramsey's Ellie.
Yeah.
If you can accept that, you can love this show because Bella Ramsey is doing a great job, but she's not trying to be Ashley Johnson's Ellie. You know, there are
Mm.
scenes that are similar. There are stories that's obviously based on the overarching story is the same, but they're building this character around what works for Bella Ramsey in this role and so on and so forth. So I think Ellie in the show, in the games, is very different. Ellie in the games is like almost, and I mean this like with great love and respect, having like loads of friends within the community and stuff like that. She is the archetype of a modern lesbian. Do you know what I mean? And I mean this in only the best way. I love Ellie, but she's very thoughtful. She's very
Mm.
creative. She can be quite sassy. She's very cheeky, but she almost uses her sassiness as almost a protective wall to put up because
Mm.
actually she's quietly sensitive, but she's very intelligent. Um, but also like she'll kill you if you get on the wrong side of her. You know what I mean? Like in the same way that like a 21st century lesbian, if you said fuck Palestine or use the N-word around them, they'll stab you. Do you know what I mean? That's Ellie. Like she'll do it. Like again, she can go to that level. Um, but this is not her. And you need to let go of that as well, or you will not enjoy the show. And that's kind of the decision you have to make. It's Bella Ramsey's version of Ellie. And if you can accept that Bella Ramsey's version of Ellie has a lot of those qualities, but is very different and built
Mm.
around Bella Ramsey. And again, that doesn't say that Bella Ramsey is stupid. That's why she is. If you listen to her interview or listen to her on Louis Theroux, and she pretty much had to explain gender identity to a man in his 40s or 50s. I don't know Louis Theroux's exact age, but she's very well spoken and thoughtful. It's not specific to her, but that is the Ellie that they've conceived of here. And
Gotcha.
that's different. And you do
Mm.
just have to accept it. And if you can accept it, there's a great performance waiting for you. If you're looking for your Ellie, you will not find it in this. And that's a decision that people have to make and either commit to this going forward, but I've no time for this. It's like Star Wars fans getting into that level of toxicity where it's like, I'm a Star Wars fan, but I'm a traditionalist and I don't want it to veer too far from the source material. So The Last Jedi just sends them off every time they're going to talk about Star Wars. You need to not watch The Last Jedi because the purpose of The Last Jedi is we're going to fuck around with some Star Wars and try some new shit because it's time for this thing to like
Yeah.
evolve. And if you can accept that this is an evolution of the Star Wars ideas and not everyone has to be a Star Wars a Skywalker and not everything has to take place in Tatooine, we're talking about Star Wars again somehow. But if you can accept that The Last Jedi is an evolution, there's an amazing film in there for you to enjoy. But
Yeah.
if you can't accept that not everyone who is important in this world is a Skywalker and you want it to be like Empire or like A New Hope, you're not going to bump up against this. So stop watching it. You know what I mean? And that's, I think, the decision people have to make. Um, Anything else from the video game or anything? I know you're kind of past where you were, but anything else you kind of wanted to know or
Um, what else was something? Oh, just Tommy. I'm just excited to see what he's been doing and his reaction to Ellie. Is he going to have more of a kind of I guess was there a conversation that they had before the vote where he wanted to go or he wanted to let Ellie go, but because she's after sneaking out, is he going to go with her now, or is he going to want to bring her back and kind of be a more of like the Joel kind of father figure of like, look, this isn't worth it, we need to go. Um, so that's what's interesting. I'm looking forward to, and it's not even going to be next week if it's a flashback episode, so it's going to be the week after. But I'm excited to see because as much as Kev hated Tommy, I fucking love this version of Tommy. I actually quite like him. But yeah, I'm interested to see what his reaction to all of this is going to be because Jesse seemed pissed that they had to go all the way to find them. But yeah, it's just their conversation beforehand intrigued me. that he was like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's go get some revenge.
It's really interesting because it is a whole new, and again, we don't now know this Tommy's motivations. Do you know what I mean? Because Tommy could go one of two ways. You would think that based off everything we've seen in this show, that Tommy is very much like, I just want to find Ellie. I want to honor what my brother would have wanted, and that's Ellie
Yeah,
safe and back in Jackson. You know what I mean? He would not want her going out on a revenge mission where she's probably going to get killed. That's the Tommy we know. But then Tommy gets out there and he's close to the people that killed his brother. Does he then
yeah,
revenge mode? So we don't know. The change from the game here is it is very different, but I almost like this structure more than the game, or at least I think this works better for a TV adaptation. Um, I Tommy in the game, Tommy is the one who sneaks off in the middle of the night. Ellie and Dina go after Tommy to bring him back, and Maria asked them to do that.
yeah.
Then Ellie can't put aside her need for revenge. She'll lie to everyone around her and say, "Oh no, I'm just going over here looking for Tommy, and we need to find where Abby is to find where Tommy is." You know what I mean? But really, she's going after Abby. Jesse shows up in a very different way in the game. But I like this again for the TV side. I think this worked better, and you have to condense it like to it. It's a very long, difficult level of the game, and there's really intense, like kind of very Uncharted style car chase where it's like a mix of action and cutscenes, or
Mm.
Spider-Man kind of style as well. It plays great in the game, but I almost prefer this, and I think it was tighter and made more sense for it. But again, like he shows up and he's very much like, all right, I'm taking you back to Dina and we're gonna fuck off out of here. So that's interesting because that's probably where this is gonna go. But again, the Tommy motivation is interesting. Some Easter eggs as well. Bonnie the dog, there's a reason I remember their name. She's actually a character from the game. Um
Ah, in a
Now you
nice
say
way. Oh no,
no, this isn't gonna. I'm fully sure this isn't gonna happen. In this because I think this was just an Easter egg, and that's the last time we see a bunny. Where she's used in the game, and this may point you to the direction that the game goes and why it's almost controversial. Is Ellie kills Bonnie, um, and
I'm Team
then
Abby. I'm Team Abby now.
when we
Don't care.
when we and then when we switch over to Abby's perspective of the 3 days in Seattle,
Tell
we
me it
have
wasn't
an
her dog.
extended
Tell me
sequence
it
of
wasn't her dog.
no, it wasn't. But she was like Bonnie is like a dog that they all love, kind of in the kind of wolves camp. But we have an extended sequence of Abby playing catch with Bonnie, and
Oh
you
my
know that
god.
Bonnie's died in the future, and it's fucking heartbreaking. But Bonnie is an important character. Thank God we didn't get to see that. Same way, also, do you realize that we haven't seen Ellie and Dina's horse Shimmer? The Shimmer's just disappeared somewhere in
Yeah,
Seattle.
they just left it in the was it some garage or something like that, wasn't it? That
Yeah,
they
that's because
yeah.
Shimmer dies in the game. So like they're
Oh.
leaving out the animal cruelty. They've said that's a bit too much in real life when it's a real horse and a real dog. So
Yeah.
they're leaving a lot of that out, and they're just kind of yeah. But that's Bonnie. She is a character in the game. But again, I don't think we're going to see that. But it's a really effective tool to make you secretly go fuck you, Ellie, and to kind of go, that Abby isn't that bad. Which is again how the you start to feel and it starts to make things grayer than it appears. The Nora seal is really, really faithful. To how the game looks and everything there. It's pretty much dead on, like including her calling Joel a bitch. I really liked the
Oh
fact.
shit, that's like word for word kind of thing, is it?
Oh yeah. That quote specifically is like there's some changes in the dialogue beforehand that they need to just adapt for TV, but it is very, very similar. And then
Mm.
he died like a little bitch. And then you literally chase her through kind of the hospital and kind of it ends very fair. It's a bit longer the level because it just needs to have time for gameplay, but it's very faithful. The difference with it is in the game, and this is such a beautiful moment in the game, you don't actually see Ellie beat Nora the way you do here. And I think you had to see that because you needed to understand it. But in the game, it's such a powerful moment because essentially you hover over Nora and it gives you a choice. But
Oh no.
there's no choice. It's a false choice. You can only press one button, and that is to torture Nora. And you just literally see Ellie like doing it and the blood appearing on her face, and it is a sick fucking moment. And you're very much like, holy shit, Ellie's changed. Oh fuck. It is a turning point moment. But it's a really effective thing. But I like what they did here, and I think they had to do that. I don't think it would have made sense like doing that because the false choice was all it was
And
there. And again, it's kind of similar to what I was saying earlier, where Ellie kind of presents Dina with a false choice of I'll take you back, but then I'll go by myself. Like she's going either way. And the false
yeah,
choice kind of tells you there's no other way. There is no choice here. This is Ellie. This is what she's doing. This is what's happening. You know? Um
the dialogue that Nora said as well about Joe, that was all new to the show, though, was it?
um she's a bit more sympathetic in the show. Like the whole where she's empathizing with Ellie and she's like, I'm sorry I had to see that now and she have to. That's I think that's kind of I think it's
But like
hinted at.
in terms of telling Ellie like what Joel actually did.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, yeah, there isn't the I know part. That's a good call out.
The I
You
know
don't know
part's new,
what
isn't
Ellie
it?
knows at
Okay,
that stage. So
okay,
that is a call because they know next week they're doing the flashback episode. So that's a call to we're gonna tell you what that means. You know what I
okay.
mean? Like so, but no, there's not the I know because when you learn that Ellie knows, like it's you're experiencing that. You're like, oh, Ellie knows. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And then you have to kind of wrestle with that side. Something to watch out for next week as well. And this has been something which has been fervently debated among gamers. And I won't give any context as to what this means, but I really hope they do the porch scene. And I'll tell you if they do or don't next week when we discuss it. But the porch scene is such. I have fears that they won't because it's more tragic if they don't. And I'll tell you what I mean by all of this when we get to it. Because if they
Okay,
don't,
I'm
but
excited.
I really hope they do the port scene. It's a small scene, but it's really important for the story. But you can do it without it, but it just totally changes the story and makes it a bit more. It puts the knife in deeper, so maybe they'll leave it out. But it's a good scene. Um. Anyway, end that before we wrap up.
Not that I can think of. Yeah, I think yeah, I think I'm good.
Kev, always love our chats.
Always love it, man. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
and I'm loving the fact that now you're going in blind as well and getting your thoughts as
You
we
know
go through.
what? I am loving it as well. I'm kind of enjoying the show a little bit more, not knowing what's going to happen.
Mm.
Um,
I'm loving
there's
getting your speculations and guesses.
yeah.
I like your shit is good. Like you're not saying anything that sounds stupid. You're not like when we did the low blow show and Katie Harvey would literally came on and this was on air. I couldn't believe it and was like, I'm on the 8th episode of the 3rd season and I really like Rob Stark. I'm just I'm like, I'm sure that's gonna go well for you. You can just enjoy it, relax, watch the night's episode, and then she gets home and texts us like, "You motherfucker!" You're not saying anything like that. Literally, the exact episode of the Red Wedding was what she was.
That is beautiful. You couldn't write that. Like that's so cool.
It was like the podcasting gods have given us a gift, but you're not doing a Katie Harvey on it. You're talking a lot of sense, but I'm loving hearing your perspective. Kev, end the plug, or if not, is there anything you want to call out in particular? Just anything you're enjoying in general.
I'll plug our show in Cork again, June 13th. Tickets are on sale, so a few tickets left. And then, like we said before we started recording, I've started watching Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, just because I'm in an absolute Star Wars buzz at the moment with Andor. I
I
cannot
can't
wait for the.
tell from anything we've said that we're
Can't
really.
no, we're just a complete Star Wars buzz at the moment. So yeah, if I some of the so much of the Star Wars animated out there, and it's like I think it's a bit overwhelming for people. But Rebels is actually a fairly solid place to start off. I think if you're
Very
again,
simple.
it's only 4 seasons as well, so there's not a massive amount, and the episodes do fly by. So if you are interested in getting a bit more Star Wars lore around that time of the kind of rebellion and leading up to A New Hope, it's great. Can't
Next,
recommend it enough. Yeah.
next we have to get you into Clone Wars. I'm very excited to text with you about it again. Exciting times. Kev, always a pleasure. Check Kev out again. Fan club on Spotify and all socials as well. Check them out if you've never listened to them. Amazing tunes. And we'll tag Kev in all of our socials. Kev, we will be back to discuss the end of this series. Only two episodes left.
Oh my
Again,
God.
maybe we'll appreciate it a lot more. We don't have Andor, like kind of like the big fat shadow there. So who knows? We'll come back next week. I
It's
feel
still
like
going to be in our minds, I think, like this week's one. So we're going to be like, it'll be the
the
season
one thing I'll
finale.
recommend. The one thing I'll recommend ahead of next week is keep the tissues handy because you are gonna want to wank. No, I'm only messing. It's sad. It's sad. That's
I was
why.
going to make that
You're not. You're not. It's sad. It's sad. It's not. It's not in any way horny. That would be such a twist. Though it is HBO, so you never know. You never fully rule it out. Kev Keane, always a pleasure to chat to you. Until next time on page 180, we've got the final Star Years of 2025. This is the end of Star Wars, so we promise we won't like ruin any other conversations talking about Star Wars. No, that's a lie. We probably will. But it is the last three episodes of Andor, and that pretty much is our Star Wars slate for the year. Sadly, me and Jerry will be back to break it all down at the weekend, so check that out. Until then, for Kev Keane, I've been Jerry Leggett. This has been page 180, and Kev, let's go be reckless.